They don't make cars like this anymore, and you'll understand why. Some were dangerous, some bankrupted their owners, and one was banned in multiple countries. Number one was shockingly famous. Malcolm Bricklin promised a revolution with the SV1, a car designed to make safety stylish. The gull-wing doors, thick acrylic panels, and bold colors looked like the future. But inside, owners faced a different reality. The electro-hydraulic doors meant to protect often trapped people inside when the battery died or the pump failed. Getting out sometimes meant crawling through the rear hatch, a nightmare in an emergency. Meanwhile, the acrylic fiberglass body panels, hyped as rust-proof, cracked and peeled after a few years. Factory workers hammered each car to check for hollow sounds, rejecting as many as 60% of panels at first. Even after improvements, a quarter still failed. Out of nearly 2,800 cars built, few survived without major repairs. Bricklin's company burned through millions in Canadian government loans, collapsing in just 2 years. The SV1's dream of safety turned into a cautionary tale, an iconic car that could leave you locked in, waiting for help. The Amphicar promised the best of both worlds, a car for the road that could slip into the water at a moment's notice. Reality, though, was far less glamorous. The steel hull, sealed with rubber gaskets, was supposed to keep the lake outside where it belonged, but even a short cruise could end with water seeping through tired seals or rusted seams. Bilge pumps and drains clogged easily, turning a minor leak into a sinking risk. Owners learned the hard way. A 1967 trip on Lake Erie ended with an Amphicar overturned and lost, its hull breached by corrosion and failed gaskets. Another sat at the bottom of a Massachusetts lake for years before anyone bothered to fish it out. Contemporary road tests grumbled about leaks and the constant need to bail. By the late 1970s, many Amphicars had quietly disappeared, their hulls eaten away by rust. Of nearly 4,000 built, only a few hundred survive. Most were lost not to accidents, but to water's slow, relentless advance. Ford's gamble on the Edsel brought the Teletouch transmission, a push-button shifter set into the steering wheel, pitched as a leap into the future. In practice, it was a reliability nightmare. The control wires snaked too close to the exhaust manifold, where heat could melt insulation and fry circuits. Owners found themselves stuck in park or thrown into the wrong gear, sometimes mid-drive. The electric motor struggled with even mild inclines, and the system demanded a strict sequence just to avoid jamming. Dealers faced a flood of warranty claims and unfinished cars, with parts often missing or needing rework straight off the truck. The public mocked the Edsel's styling, but it was the constant breakdowns and mounting repair costs that did the real damage. In just 3 years, Ford lost around $350 million on the Edsel program, a financial crater that haunted the company for decades. Today, even if you find one, original Teletouch parts are nearly impossible to source, turning the Edsel into a cautionary relic of overpromised innovation. Nothing on the road looked like the Dodge Charger Daytona. Its 2-foot nose cone sliced through the air, a shape born for NASCAR's high banks, not city streets. To race, Dodge had to build at least 500 for the public. 503 left the factory, each one a rolling loophole in the rulebook. But that aerodynamic nose, sharp and low, ran straight into a wall of new safety codes. European countries refused registration, citing pedestrian impact risks and protrusion limits. Even in the United States, some states hesitated, with DMVS scrutinizing the Daytona's radical front end under evolving safety laws. Owners found themselves with a car too wild for daily use, its design clashing with the realities of public roads. The Daytona's legend grew on the track, but on city streets, it was often denied a plate before it could even leave the driveway. Plymouth's Superbird took wild design to new heights, literally. That towering rear wing, engineered for NASCAR, stood 2 feet above the trunk and promised downforce at racing speeds. On city streets, though, it mostly blocked the driver's rear view and drew stares from every passing car. Insurance companies did not share the enthusiasm. They saw a high-powered missile that was hard to see around, with a reputation for speed and a rear wing that screamed liability. Premiums for the Superbird regularly doubled or tripled compared to ordinary muscle cars, sometimes topping $1,000 a year in 1970. For many young buyers, the cost was impossible. The solution? Owners unbolted the wing and stored it in the garage, hoping to pass inspection or get a break on insurance. Some even swapped out the nose cone for a standard bumper. By the end of 1971, more than half the Superbirds on the road had lost their signature feature, sacrificed to make the car street drivable and affordable. The insurance market, not the law, turned the Superbird into a rare sight, proof that sometimes the greatest obstacle is not the road, but the cost of staying on it. Cadillac's late 1950s flagship cruisers turned heads with their sprawling fins and chrome, but the numbers behind the glamour told a different story. At over 18 feet long and tipping the scales close to 3 tons, a 1959 Coupe de Ville demanded a king's ransom just to fill the tank. 8 miles per gallon was standard if you drove gently. The massive V8 engines drank fuel at a rate that made sense in an era of cheap gas. But when oil prices spiked in the 1970s, these giants became impossible to justify for daily use. Even parked, they were a burden. Restoring that much chrome and sheet metal can cost more than a new car today. The sheer size made city driving and modern parking lots a nightmare. What once symbolized American prosperity became a relic of excess, left behind as tastes and economics shifted toward efficiency and practicality. Chevrolet's Corvair hit the market in 1960 with a rear-engine layout and swing axle suspension that promised nimble handling. But the geometry of that suspension left the rear wheels prone to sudden, unpredictable shifts, especially in sharp turns or emergency maneuvers. Drivers could lose control without warning, a flaw that quietly racked up accident reports and injury claims. The problem grew too big to ignore when consumer advocate Ralph Nader published Unsafe at Any Speed in 1965, putting the Corvair's stability, or lack of it, on the national stage. Congressional hearings followed, with engineers and executives grilled about the car's design and the company's response. Lawmakers demanded answers on why cost-saving choices overruled safer alternatives, and the debate spilled into headlines. The fallout did not stop with the Corvair. New federal safety standards soon swept across the industry, making stability and crashworthiness a matter of law, not just marketing. The Corvair's legacy was sealed, not as a technical marvel, but as a warning about the price of ignoring engineering warnings. NSU's Row 80 arrived in 1967 with a rotary engine and sharp, modern lines, a car that looked and sounded like the future. But the innovation came at a steep cost. The heart of the Row 80, its twin-rotor Wankel engine, was smooth and quiet, but plagued by a single weakness: the apex seals. These critical parts wore out in as little as 30,000 miles. Owners faced sudden power loss, blue smoke, and expensive rebuilds, often before the warranty expired. NSU tried to keep up, honoring claims and swapping engines, but the bills piled up. By 1969, warranty costs soared into the millions, overwhelming the company and forcing a merger with Audi. The rotary dream faded, and the Row 80 became a rare sight. Too costly to keep running, too complicated for most mechanics. Lotus aimed even higher with the 1958 Elite, the world's first fiberglass monocoque sports car. Lightweight and elegant, the Elite promised race car performance for the road, but the composite body, bonded without a steel frame, proved fragile. Everyday bumps and potholes led to spiderweb cracks and structural failures. Insurers began writing off Elites with even minor damage, judging repairs too expensive or uncertain. By the mid-1960s, most had vanished from daily use, their delicate shells no match for real-world roads. Both cars started as engineering marvels, but the limits of materials and technology left owners and companies paying the price. In the early 1970s, Ford engineers knew the Pinto's fuel tank was dangerously exposed in rear-end collisions. Crash tests showed the tank could rupture at speeds as low as 25 miles per hour, sending gasoline pouring out near sharp bolts and weak bumpers. Engineers proposed fixes, stronger shields, better placement, thicker materials, but each solution added a few dollars per car and slowed the launch. Inside Ford's offices, a 1973 cost-benefit memo calculated that settling lawsuits for burn deaths and injuries would cost less than redesigning the tank across millions of Pintos. The memo, later revealed in court, put a price tag on human life: $200,000 per fatality, $67,000 per serious injury. As Pintos hit the road, dozens of people died in fiery crashes between 1971 and 1978. Public outrage exploded when the internal memo surfaced during the Grimshaw trial. Ford faced hundreds of lawsuits and in August 1978 recalled 1.5 million Pintos and Mercury Bobcats, the largest recall of its kind at the time. The Pinto's legacy became a lesson in corporate decisions gone fatally wrong. Innovation makes headlines, but consequences write history. Today, safety recalls and stricter standards exist because these cautionary tales force change. Nostalgia can't erase the risks, only vigilance can. The next iconic car will tempt us again. What we learn from failure determines what survives. What would you never drive, no matter the legend?